Welcome to Music City Horror.
All right, welcome to the show. This is episode 9. We were just commenting on how crazy that is. I thought it was 8. I'm behind in my sleep, so I don't know. Anyways, we are on episode 9. I'm here with the ladies, KB, Kayla, Lena, and I'm Eli.
What's up? Hey.
So this episode, we have another interview with the legendary Linnea Quigley, and she is amazing. That was a very, very fun talk we had.
What a sweet, what a sweet and invigorating soul she was. She was just so much fun to talk to, and girlfriend's got it together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt like we've known her for a while.
Right?
I know. As soon as we started talking to her, it was like, oh, I just feel like she's part of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's just perfect.
And I wish that we had recorded the very first part when we started talking to her, because that was some great shit. So I feel like maybe we should start recording as soon as we pick up the phone next time.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson now. I will definitely do that.
Yeah. She was fantastic. We were so happy to have her. And I have a feeling we'll cross paths again in the future. She seems pretty keen on coming to Nashville.
Yeah. I think we need to do something. We need to come up with a project for her to... We need to give her a reason to come to Nashville.
Right?
Sure,
right?
yeah.
It's not just to hang out.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, just hanging out with us, chilling.
It was kind of funny, too, that all the females doubted my knowledge of the Dalton, Georgia carpet industry.
I learned something,
let's not give it away.
Right. And she learned.
You're going to learn some great facts.
I mean, I think she was just stunned. I think she
stunned.
It was just like that, and I knew it instantly.
Yeah. That's how she knew we were legit. Thank you, Eli.
I know that carpet
Because
industry.
we know some facts.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, so we're going to talk about some new stuff, and I think we found a little bit more in the new category than I think we were thinking about. So, KB's going to start us off on that. What's
up, nerds? There's still not a lot going on. You know, we're kind of in our dead season, but we do have some great news, some very interesting things going on. My first topic of conversation is James Gunn is returning to horror. If you're not familiar with who James Gunn is, you're dead. So, Guardians of the Galaxy, he is the one that drove the ship. And again, if you don't know who Guardians of the Galaxy is, just go away. Just go away. I'm offended. I am appalled, because that was, in my opinion, the best comic book movie ever made. But this is not a comic book podcast, so we won't discuss it. However, if you didn't know, he did write and direct Slither, which was a disgusting movie, and it was fantastic. So much fun.
I did like it. Mm-hmm.
And he also wrote The Belko Experiment, which I did not see, but I want to see, and I've heard good things about. But he is teaming up with another writer-director, and I believe they are due to start filming next year. No word on what the movie is going to be about, but it should be very exciting. The next one that I've got, and this one's going to be interesting because I feel like that there's kind of like a battle on people's opinions on this. We all know that Disney finally acquired some shit.
That's right.
And when I say some shit, I mean it's everything. In my opinion, this is, and I think in a lot of people's opinions, this is something that is so major. They've acquired 21st Century Fox, and if you don't know what that includes fucking everything. It includes X-Men, but for us, it includes Alien and Predator. Now, some people think that that's a bad thing. I, however, think that that's an astronomically fantastic thing. What do you guys think?
I love that the Xenomorph Queen is now a Disney princess.
There's a picture floating around online of a Xenomorph holding up a facehugger egg, like Simba. It killed me. It killed me. Now, the Predator movie, the standalone Predator movie, is still coming out. It's already been filmed, but it is going to come out underneath Disney. So we're going to see a Disney logo at the beginning of a Predator movie.
Wow.
I love it.
August 3rd.
I hope they do the Magic Kingdom castle with like the little twinkly lights above it, and then the Predator the titles. So, yeah.
What do you guys think this means? Because we've seen Disney take over Marvel, we've seen Disney take over Star Wars, and obviously it's worked out very, very well for them. But what do you guys think is going to happen now that they've got Alien and Predator? Are they going to do Alien versus Predator again? Are they going to change the Alien movies that we're getting and that we've gotten? I don't think that they're going to make them PG-13. I think everybody needs to stop living in fear because they're not going to do it to Deadpool.
No, it's going to be fine.
Right.
I think we'll be all right. I
don't understand everybody still being scared of Disney when it's clearly worked out so well.
Sure. Yeah, they said today that Deadpool's definitely staying R. And the New Mutants movie they're coming out next year. I think it's still supposed to come out next year. It's still going to be R. So I think if they can find a way to incorporate, like the X-Men into like the Avengers and stuff like that, I think they will. But I think they also like money. So, Logan made a ton of money. Deadpool made a ton of money. So they're kind of carving out this whole R-rated niche that's not what other comic book properties are doing. So I think it's, I could either see them keeping it separate or giving all the fanboys what they want and combining everything. I think one thing that could be cool is that, we were almost very, very close to getting a Alien Part 5, which was going to be by Neil Blomkamp, who did District 9, and saw the artwork for it and all that. Sigourney Weaver was coming back. I mean, it looked incredible, and then the wheels fell off, and Ridley Scott got back on board. So, but I think there's the best chance for something like that happening is now at Disney, where they would rather. Like they did with Star Wars, George Lucas didn't really have anything to do with these new
Thank
episodes.
God.
And they've been so far incredible.
All the better for it, right?
Right. I really think that we've seen some positive things happen with Disney acquiring these things. And honestly, it means bigger budgets. It means more creative approaches because of the budgets. So I think that we could see some really good stuff, and I think that they'll stay true to it. I don't think that they've gone astray from anything so far.
Right. Well, they've really reinvented their brand in the last 15 years because, a lot of people don't know or, forget is in the 80s and 90s, Disney struggled. They really kind of hit their, when like Little Mermaid kind of started the resurgence, and then they had Beauty and the Beast, and then Aladdin, and then Lion King. They were, printing money at that point. But then the late 90s, they kind of skid again. But then in the 2000s, they bought the Muppets. So they have all of the Jim Henson stuff. Then they bought Lucas, which was, Indiana Jones and Star Wars. And then they also bought Marvel. So they have all that stuff. So, all the stuff under the umbrella is it's unbelievable, like what they've done in the last, since 2000. And, just adding, and even, there are, like, for example, they did get the remaining movie rights to the Marvel stuff, like X-Men and Fantastic Four. But they do have Predator, they do have Alien. They have Avatar, which sucks, but it made $1 billion trillion. They have The Simpsons now. There's a lot of stuff that they have that's kind of people are skimming the surface of. They're not even thinking about. But yeah, I think the Predator movie is in good hands. It's Shane Black is directing it. He was in the original. He also wrote Monster Squad with Fred Decker. That's good enough for me. So he directed Iron Man 3, which is I might like that one better than the original. I'm
sorry. That's embarrassing. because Iron Man 3 was a tragedy, and I really need you to rethink what you just said to me. That was the worst Iron Man movie of all of them.
No.
I only sat through it. Oh, we can't talk about this right now. We can't talk about this right now.
If you can tell me on any level that 3 was worse than 2, then we're not friends anymore. 2 was
you said the original. You said the original.
Well,
you said it was better than the original.
But you said it was the worst out of all of them.
I can't take this.
Yeah,
I can't. We can't. Okay, let's move on. Because me and Eli are going to have a 2-hour argument.
We'll dedicate a whole episode to that another time.
We're not going to talk about horror at all. It's just going to be a full hour
timer
of me and Eli arguing about Iron Man.
Okay. Let me rephrase that. It was a million times better than 2, which was probably one of the worst Marvel sequels that they ever did. I guess the big thing that I really appreciate is like the scene with the airplane explodes and they all fall out of the sky. Like that's all practical. Like that was real. Like they were all skydivers and stuff.
But the Mandarin was an actor. That was a slap in the face.
Yeah, I mean they did it. They did it on Batman Begins too, though.
It was disgusting. Anyways, continue. I've got more new things to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I think that was it with the Disney thing, right?
Yeah. Anyways, Eli, we will come back to this at a later date. My next order of business is a pretty big announcement, in my opinion. We've been talking for the last 9 episodes about the resurgence of horror and Jigsaw, which I'm embarrassed to say I still have not seen because I just haven't. I've been too broke to pay to go to the movies, but I got Movie Pass, so that will hopefully change. Jigsaw hit $100 million. It hit $700 million. So that's a big fucking deal. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think I even remember like hearing about how well it did, but that's pretty impressive. That's awesome.
So, and both of those movies are coming out in January, so they are getting them out very quickly. Jigsaw will come out on January 23rd, and it will come out on January 9th, and it is going to have 11 deleted scenes, which all of us are just itching to watch. I saw a list of what they are, but I did not read it because I like surprises.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to be surprised and shocked. Oh, totally. I can't wait.
And we have already made the pact to have a viewing party, so maybe we will live tweet it or something.
Oh yeah!
But we are going to have a little movie date when it comes out, and I guess I'll get to just watch Jigsaw on Blu-ray, and I won't have to worry about actually going to the theater.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys see
I'm not
it?
mad about that.
Did any of us see it?
No, I'm actually not a big Saw person after the first one, so I kind of fell off the wagon. Yeah.
Right. So maybe.
But if it's really good, then I might be convinced.
It must be because it did $100 million.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's like
crazy.
I wonder what the first Saw did. Hold on. You know what? Let's use the internet while we can.
Yes.
And let's see. Saw 50. Oh God, I don't know. I think like 55 million. I don't know.
2004? Golly.
Yeah, it was that long ago. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
Wikipedia says 103.9 million.
In the original?
For the first one. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And the budget for the new one was 10 million. So they have done, I'm sorry, according to Wikipedia, 97.7 million. So that's still not too shabby. They made
they're still making money.
They almost made $90 million from it. So congratulations to the Jigsaw team. You guys did a great job, I'm sure. In my opinion, the most exciting news I have is that Ash versus Evil Dead, both seasons are now on Netflix and ready to binge, which is what I will be doing after I finish binging and watching The Hobbit.
Oh, I saw
Love
that you were
it.
watching it. Oh,
That's
so great.
That's my
Love it.
new holiday. My new holiday tradition is that we watch the entire Lord of the Rings. All
I think
6
that's
movies.
awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So
It's so much fun.
Right. And we're playing Shadow of War. So it's a Lord of the Rings Christmas, but I will be going straight into Ash versus Evil Dead on Netflix as soon as that's over. The other two that I have are very short and sweet. You can find these on YouTube. One is called The Hawkins Family Yule Log, which is a 2-hour Yule log video with a twist at the end. So I have not finished it. I have forwarded through I think like 50 minutes of the actual Yule log before the movie starts. So as soon as we finish our little recording session, I'm gonna actually watch that because it looks really interesting. They had one apparently last year that was really really popular, called Chucky Roasting on an Open Fire, and it was a 7-hour Yule log of Chucky in like the oven on fire.
That's awesome.
So funny. And that was just like a repeated, like looped thing. But this is actual story.
Did they do like Darth Vader like that too?
Oh, probably. I'm sure that they turned everything into a Yule log.
Yeah.
Tis the fucking season.
Yeah.
Right. My last one, which was actually probably one of the funnier things that I've watched within the past couple of days, is Home Alone with Blood. Someone has actually went in and digitally inserted and I'm not a big Home Alone fan, so I don't know the names of the people that break into the house. I mean, I've seen the movies,
Harry.
but
Yep.
there you go. There you go. Their names, but it actually like shows. It's basically he gives them so much terror, but they don't really get hurt because it's a kids movie, even though they get hit with like shovels and pecked to death by birds and shit like that.
Step on a nail. I was like, that's no, you wouldn't move.
But
That's a very long nail.
Somehow they're just not injured at all. So this is basically a 5-video series of what would it look like if they actually got injured. So it's really hilarious to watch. They're short clips, and all you have to do is type in Home Alone with Blood, and it should pull up everything.
Amazing.
So that was an interesting list for this week. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add, but that was all I had for you guys.
I was going to mention the Screambox thing. Screambox is now available on Amazon, so it's like a channel, kind of like you can subscribe to HBO through Amazon and Stars and Showtime and everything, I guess. And so Screambox is kind of in the wheelhouse of Shudder. It's $5 a month, and then it's just all horror stuff. And I think they lean more towards like the newer releases or newer, from what I just glanced at, it seemed like everything was from like 2005 to now. So they didn't really have as deep of a library as Shudder, does. But again, it's another, if you had that and Shudder, that's $10 a month for unlimited, all horror all the time. So not a bad deal. And Tennessee Horror News actually posted that story, so I got that from them, so that's cool. And then we had mentioned next year they're finally releasing Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 on Blu-ray, and this is kind of like what we talked about, Halloween 3. It's kind of gotten a little bit of a cult following now, and a lot of people, it's their favorite one, or, as to them, it's as important as the first one or whatever. So they're finally releasing that on Blu-ray next year, and I think that might have been the first one I remember seeing, because I remember seeing pieces of the first one when I was, too young to watch. But I think that came out in 1990. So sometime after that, I think I saw that. I want to go back and rewatch it because it seemed to me, because the second one was kind of, had some comedy in it, whether it was intentional or not. And the third one, to me, I just remember it being scary. So I'm curious if I'm still scared by the same thing. So, and then, you mentioned Ash vs. Evil Dead. Am I the only one that's seen that? Have anybody else watched that?
I've just seen a couple of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. Like,
I can't wait.
I'll take this. I would rather have this series than like a half-assed, either like a Army of Darkness 2 or Evil Dead 3 or whatever, and it just be half-assed, because the series is awesome. It's really good. I think the first season's a little bit better than the second, but the second's still really strong. And I like that they went to Stars instead of, say, like AMC, where they had to cut down on some of the blood and gore or whatever.
Sure.
It's really good. And then they're still supposed to be coming out with season 3 in February or March, I believe. So
sweet.
Yeah.
We can only hope.
Yeah.
But here's my question: are Ash and Mia ever gonna cross paths?
I think we had talked about that on our episode with the remakes or reboots or whatever. I don't think they've actually said whether they will, but do you guys think they will? Whether it's in a show, like a TV show, series, or if they make another movie? I think if they do another movie, it's a no-brainer. I don't know if what was that? Jane Levy, I think is her name. I don't think she would come back to TV at this point. I think she's like kind of starting to become in demand or whatever.
Sure.
But I kind of think they left it open. The way they ended it wasn't. I thought it was a reboot, but it was more of a.
It was a sequel.
It was more of a sequel, yeah.
It was a sequel. It was a revisit. They're in the same universe. It is not a reboot.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised. We obviously sang his praises, and I still, I'll pop up and see, little list about best remakes or whatever, and it's listed on there. So, I think it's starting to kind of grow and, cult status or whatever, since it's been released.
But it's also been a while.
Yeah, what was that, 2013?
I think so. Yes, yeah, you're right. 2013.
Next year, it's 5 years old. So it's yeah. So yeah. So it's kind of one of those where I think it did its job. Like it brought attention back to the franchise, and I don't know if we would have got the TV show if that movie hadn't came out first. And I don't think the movie was like it wasn't like it or something. I don't think it was this huge blockbuster, but I think it did well enough to like the people at Stars are, considered, oh, okay, I guess we can do a TV show based on it because this movie just did $100 million or whatever it did. So.
We can hope.
Yeah. Oh, and this is this was funny. I'm going to expose some of our dirty laundry. I posted in our little app that we have, our chat app that we have for the podcast. Lena and I disagreed on the Fright Night remake, and
I can just hear her chuckling.
Bloody Disgusting had a very, very thoughtful, very well thought out article, very articulate. Just basically echoing what I said about it's a very underrated remake. So I just told Lena she needs to revisit it. I think it's again, I went into it on the the love of the first one, and once it came to home video, and I kind of had that out of my system, I was like, holy crap! Like I missed a bunch of this stuff. So, for what it's worth, just something.
I haven't seen that one, so I need to.
Maybe we should all watch it together.
I think so too. Just so I can see Lena's like sour face about how much she hates it.
I'll give it another chance.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm currently Team Lana on this, so yeah, because I don't like it either. So we'll see if that changes at all and shift the balance a little bit. So we'll find out.
I just think it was like the way that they used the foundation of the first one, and it wasn't like exactly, beat for beat the exact same remake. Because that's what I was worried about, was it was just going to be just an exact. Because I think right around that time, like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake had came out, and they copied the exact scenes from it, and it was just like we've already talked about how much of a nightmare that was. So I think I just
pun intended.
But I think they took enough of the beginning or the first story and updated it to the modern very well, and putting it in Las Vegas was, I think, just the amount of change in scenery they needed, and so yeah,
that's a good point, because I've learned presently to not go in expecting it to be an exact remake.
Yeah.
I think I did with that one.
Yeah, I did too. I'll be honest. I even have, I think I posted it on the website, but I have they did a Fright Night comic book in the early 90s, and I have that entire run. So I love Fright Night. So I was like the biggest critic, but it slowly turned me. I do appreciate it. I don't think it's better than the first one, but I think it's a really solid. Like, if it had been called something else, I think it would have been a huge hit. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just was in the shadow of the original one. So, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. That's just tying back into one of our earlier episodes. So, cool. So, do we have anything else? Or are we just ready to get on with the interview?
I believe that was all.
Awesome.
That's it.
Cool. So, our guest tonight, you may have seen her in a slew of things. We found out on her IMDb page she has 147 acting credits. Some of those are, as she says in the interview, just background stuff. Some of it was one or two lines. Some of it was like lead stuff. But I mean, she's had a very what would you call it? A prolific career. I mean, she's done a lot of stuff.
She's remained in the business, and that's a lot more than most people can say.
Oh, totally. Yeah. One of her first kind of breakout movies was a slasher flick called Graduation Night. She was in probably most famously Return of the Living Dead. Excuse me. And that movie has just grown in cult status. And Night of the Demons. She was in Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is on our Christmas movie list. One of the best horror Christmas related movies. She has a gnarly death scene. And she even talks to us about her horror workout exercise DVD, which is incredible. So, but yeah, we are very excited to talk to Miss Linnea Quigley, and that will be coming up right after this break. All right, so we are very excited and very happy to, on our interview today, have the lovely Miss Linnea Quigley join us via telephone. Thank you for joining us this evening. How are you?
I'm doing really good after talking to you guys.
We've already had a lot of fun before we even started this. So, there were some.
Having a party.
Yeah, there were some what do you call it? Secret tracks that will never get released.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
I wish we were recording earlier. That was some funny stuff.
Oh my my God.
Well, it would kind of tie into the B films, the B sides.
Yeah.
Get those back.
Well, I guess, most interviews start with the, very generic question, how did you get started? Was it something, did you aspire to get into acting? Was it an accident? What's your, how, for someone that's not, well versed in your career, like what would you tell them for like how you got started with this?
Oh my, I don't think I'm like the usual person that starts this, because I didn't think in the 100,000,000 years that I would be acting. It was so just not possible, because I was in Iowa and I was really shy. I couldn't make plays or cheerleader or talk in front of the teacher without turning red. So I wasn't a typical like drama student or anything like that. I just like kind of did it very slowly by ending up in LA as a fluke happening, and everybody there is an actor or actress, and I kind of like took their advices. These girls at the spa I worked at said, "Oh, we're models and we do this and that," and I'm like, I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And so I just like went with this little agency, and they would send me for extra work or stand-in work, so I learned that kind of thing. So it was a weird way of learning the business. It was very slow, but once I got some good ones under my belt, then it went really well and fast.
Yeah. But doing it that way, you at least were comfortable with like film sets and cameras and lights and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and knowing what directors don't want, and they, it seemed more civilized back then, because nowadays actors show up late, they don't know their lines. Back then, you got to remember it was on film, and you get one take, really, because it's very expensive to use film.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
I've always been told don't make yourself expendable. So always adapt and always make sure that you know more than just the acting part of it, so they can't get rid of you.
Yes, that's really good, Kayla. That's really good. Actually, yeah, I learned wardrobe, I learned PA, the only thing I couldn't really do was makeup, even though I had to do a scary Richard Lynch's like eyeliner once, and I was so scared because I don't know how to do it, and I was going to poke him in the eye or something.
It's a lot harder than people think. That's my day job, so it's a lot harder than people think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so bad at it. I just am really bad. I don't know. And now it's like everything's makeup, having that line of demarcation above your cheekbone where it's light, and then contouring, and it's just like, oh my God.
Yep. Well, welcome to my world.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Everybody's a Kardashian now.
Hey, you've got everything else covered. I can handle the makeup, so we're a full team.
Okay, good. That's great. But yeah, it's true. You're so right. You need to learn all the different aspects of filming and not feel like an idiot when they say action, or you start acting before they say action, or you start out at speed, or something awful, and you look like an idiot.
What kind of movies and TV did you watch growing up, and what kind of inspired your acting style, would you say?
Okay. Well, I watched a lot of Alfred Hitchcock and Alfred Hitchcock Presents. I did watch a lot of that, and then they'd play the Friday movies like Murder in the Rue Morgue with Vincent Price and Wax Museum, and I just loved all that stuff. And so I watched a lot of horror and really liked that. I liked the comedies, but it wasn't like my big thing. It was like when there was a horror film on, it was like, yay!
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So I'm one of them. I know a lot of the girls don't like being in the horror films, but it's like, how can you not? It's so fun, and you get a lot of them. You get to be silly, you get to be dramatic, you be scared, you get to run, you get to do the bashing in. It's like a whole spectrum.
Yeah, you always look like you're having so much fun in your movies. That's one thing that I noticed is like she looks like she's having a blast, and I can tell by your personality too. Like, plus she just comes in with a fun attitude, so that's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I like to. The only time that was kind of hard, even though I acted like Return of the Living Dead was hard because it was so darn cold, and they had the rain machines, and it was in LA at night, and that was it. And I was painted all white during some scenes that I couldn't get off, and so that was a hard one. I had fun in the parts where it wasn't raining, but even though it wasn't, the greatest, weather conditions, I always look at movies now and think, oh my God, they're so brave, they're doing a rain scene, and, it's like, it's so miserable to do it.
Well, I guess we can go ahead and parlay that into Return of the Living Dead since we have mentioned it. So tell us how that came about for you, because that's obviously your most famous role.
Yes, it is. Now, how it came about was really weird. I had read for Stanley Stokes, the casting director, for a film called Silent Night, Deadly Night, which was about the Santa Claus killer. And she remembered me, and she called me in for Return of the Living Dead. And I read for it, and I found out they had, stopped it, they had cast it, and then the girl that they cast got pregnant. And so she got pregnant, and during the time they had to wait with, getting the money and stuff, there was no way she could do the part. And so when they were recasting, they called me in, and I got the part. I was, shocked about that.
So that's, good timing on your part.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. You want not to get pregnant, or?
Well, I guess two things of good luck, yeah.
Yeah, it's good they didn't get pregnant. It's good I was there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's it was, I guess, meant to be or something. But it was just a wonderful experience. I luckily knew a lot about punks and things like that from playing in bands, and so I did know the punk, way of life and, how they think and carry on. So at least I knew that.
Well, piggybacking off of that, the zombie genre had kind of, I don't know, it's never really gone away, but it really wasn't where it was in the 60s with George Romero, and then the 70s with him and some other the directors. This one and a couple other movies really kind of brought zombies back, kind of put them back in the spotlight. What was your initial reaction to the movie when it was released? I mean, were you a fan of it? Did you, judge your performance harshly, or, what was your thought of it when it came out?
Well, this is the one time I didn't judge my acting or anything like that, because it's the movie was just so, to me, which I was so surprised, because I'm very critical about stuff. It was so flawless and funny, and the music was so good that I really fell in love with it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other movies I see, I won't name names, but I just go, oh boy.
Right. Well, what's it been like to see that movie just kind of continued to grow and the cult status, and they just had the big re-release on Blu-ray not too long ago. Like, what's it like to be in one of those kind of famous cult movies that just continues to get bigger year after year?
It's actually wonderful because it keeps you feeling young and relevant, and it makes you feel like you did something that actually made people laugh and get scared maybe, and maybe there was a time in their life they were upset and they watched it and it cheers them up, or whatever it did for the people that like it so much. So it's a great feeling, and just a weird feeling too at the same time, because you're involved in it.
Right. Well, and not everyone gets a significant role, and you've had several, so you've been pretty lucky, I guess, in that respect.
I have been lucky, very lucky. And it's a lot of times in Hollywood it's who you know. Mm-hmm. But I'm lucky that it wasn't like who I knew. I didn't know anybody. But I just got some good parts.
Yeah.
Luckily.
Absolutely. One thing that you've mentioned a couple of times that I think is really interesting is your passion for music. You mentioned that you were in some bands. You've brought up punk a few times. Can you tell us a little bit about your history with music? Maybe what kind of music that you like, maybe still listen to now?
Yeah. It's like I had a band, The Skirts. I played with different people when I first started. And it's like I was a totally different person when I moved to LA. I would never have done that in Iowa. Mm-hmm. But it was like a metamorphosis. And I started playing guitar and playing with bands, and then when the Perfect Band, which was Haiti Palmar, the bass player, and then whichever drummer or girl we could get, because they spontaneously combust always. It's true. You
it's
never
always
can
the
keep
drummer.
a drummer. It's horrible. They're always coming out and leaving. But anyway, it was really exciting to all of a sudden, have a band and record. And one of my songs is in Nightmare Sisters.
Oh, nice.
And that was really exciting. And they just released my 45, which is called This Chainsaw's Made for Cutting, on a 45, which is Strange Way Disc. And they only printed 1,000, but I'm really hoping they do the whole album that we recorded.
Do you have any, are there any plans for a Skirts reunion or anything, or?
I would love that. The only bad problem is the bass player lives on the other side of the coast.
That's inconvenient.
But if there was enough money involved, because we did play some venues here, and it's like there's money enough to, I have a ton of animals and she has a ton of animals, so we could hire the house sitters and everything, then it would be great.
Yeah. I think that would be cool for like a one of the horror conventions you go to. Just have a Saturday night, have the return of the Skirts or something. That'd be a cool idea.
It would be great. It would be great.
It's so cool.
I would love that.
All right, we've put the word out. Let's put it into the universe. It's going to happen.
Yes, and then somebody will think it's their idea. Oh, I thought it was good. But you'll know the truth.
Yeah.
Well, we touched on this earlier about Silent Night, Deadly Night, and since it's getting close to the holidays, we've kind of created our top 12 movies to watch during the month of December, and that's definitely one of them.
Oh my gosh, of course!
Of course, yes. But how was it, filming that? And I know there's a little bit of controversy around it, and I mean, your death scene it was awesome. So how was it filming that?
Well, it was in Utah in the winter, and it was just like the director was this guy that did mainly those, what are they called? Grizzly Adams movies.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Really family orientated. So I think he was shocked to get what he had to do.
I could see that, yeah.
So it was like this one girl didn't want to do one of the topless scenes, and so I heard she got like this little diamond necklace. And I said, oh my God, if I'm really good and do my scene, I'm going to get a necklace. Or maybe more. And so I did my scene where, I'm making out with my boyfriend. And then, of course, I go upstairs. I'm so interested in him. I go upstairs to get my cat out of the winter land. And then Santa Claus comes. Well, I had to take off my top because the antlers wouldn't show if I had my top on. Oh. And you girls know, if you're a girl, you would not put on your pants. You would put on your shirt first.
Yeah.
To go upstairs. And so, yeah.
Totally. That's just natural. I mean, that's just natural, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't really think about it any other way.
I wouldn't put this on. I would put a top on. And he said, well, then we can't see the antlers go through you. So I'm like, okay, this is a great film. I went upstairs and had to wrestle around with Santa. And then they brought a stuntman in to lift me like 100 times up onto the antlers, which like bruised my ribs. I'm like, oh. But wow. It was like hard enough being up there, but they had to stage a fight under me too, where I couldn't breathe or the antlers would move.
Oh no. That sounds intense.
But it was worth it.
Yeah.
The things you do for death.
Right.
The things you do for film.
Right.
Yes. Right.
I heard there was one actor, I don't know if it was Dustin Hoffman or, I always get them mixed up, Al Pacino, but they stayed up all night to be like they were going to be in the scene. Mm-hmm. And some big-time actor told them, like they stayed up, they were exhausted, and they changed the scenes on them.
Oh, no.
So he wasn't supposed to be exhausted in this, and other actors just looked at him and say, all you've got to do is act. Mm-hmm. You don't have to, do this, I guess it's a method thing where you're exhausted and stay up all night, because, film changes. They can film something you weren't even ready for.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, which, another question I had was about Nightmare on Elm Street. Busting out of Freddy's chest. How was that?
Well, it was scary because there were 3 of us, and there were 2 other guys that were kind of a little bit overweight, maybe you'd say, or big boned or something. Mm-hmm. And there were 3 of us in there, me and the 2 guys, and we had to stand on what are referred to in the film industry as apple boxes, which are basically just wood boxes. And they put a bunch of them together so we could stand, and then we had these bodysuits on that were painted, and then we had to, they put KY jelly all over us, which is freezing. You put it all over your body. It is so cold, you won't believe it. But we had to lean against it with all our might. And so all of a sudden we felt it falling, and we're up on these apple boxes, and we're all falling to the ground. And I'm like, oh my God, these guys are going to crush me because I'm in front. And we fell, and the whole Freddy thing, which was about 3 stories tall, came down. It almost hit the camera man who was up there. It took this poor Japanese woman who was, in her 60s or 70s and was doing his head. It threw her to the ground.
Oh, wow.
And then we had to do it all again. They finally got it held down. They didn't have enough sandbags on it.
Oh, that's intense.
Yeah, that's wild.
I know. So it was scary. It was really, really a weird thing to have happen. And my husband at the time was Steve Johnson, who built it. And he's like, don't you ever tell anybody that my stuff went bad. You know, the Freddy thing. I just think it's funny.
Oh, hilarious.
It's on the behind-the-scenes stuff, so I can tell it now.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I think that was the first Freddy I remember watching. I mean, I think I remember seeing parts of the other ones, but I distinctively remember watching that one, and that scene just terrified me. And I thought it was cool because, you know, in the first Freddy, he's got that, you know, he comes through the wall in Nancy's bedroom, and it's kind of that same effect. So it's kind of the callback to that one in the fourth one. So. But yeah, it's a very effective special effect. It's even today, it's like, wow, that's you don't realize that it's like a 3-story, you know, dummy. You think it's like just a torso of somebody.
And I think and not because I did a little thing in it, but I really like the fourth one.
Yeah, it's, you know, for all the slack it gets, I mean, it was the highest grossing Freddy, I believe. Well, until like Freddy and Jason. So, I mean, it was a huge hit. And, you know, I think, what was it, Remy Harlan? Was that the...
Yes, it was, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and of course he went on to do a lot of blockbusters and stuff. So, yeah. Now,
oh my gosh.
After 4, it did drop considerably, but I think 4 was like the last, you know, really quality Freddy they did for a while.
I think that the Freddy's kept up doing good until there was one about a baby or something.
Yeah. Freddy's the Dream Child.
Yes. That one I really didn't like.
Mm-mm.
And after that, it was just kind of, to me, downhill a little bit.
Yeah. So you were in the last peak of another big franchise, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that was neat. That was fun.
Cool.
It was a fun thing to do, be on the set of a Freddy movie. And my co-star from Sorority Babes was starring in it. So it was really neat to see him there too.
Oh, nice.
And also Tuesday Night, who I knew, was in it.
Oh, nice.
As one of the stars.
She does music too. She did they just re-released her. She had a song on that soundtrack, I think.
I think she did.
Yeah.
I could tell you many things, but I can't.
Yeah.
Well, you saw the documentary, I'm sure, Never Sleep Again.
Yes.
Yeah, so you know. If you see the documentary, you kind of know.
Yes.
But it's a great documentary.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's one of my favorites.
Who's doing number 6?
But yeah, it's great when they really tell the truth about what went on behind the sets, because usually they're all like, oh, we love each other, and, you know, oh, we work so good together, and and, you know, that one is like, everybody hated different people, and it was really interesting.
Yeah, that does make it more interesting, I guess, too, right? When I'm thinking about some awesome projects that you've done, one of my favorites is your parody of the workout videos. Your horror workout is amazing. I watched it yesterday and it's like, this is just the most fun. It's just amazing. So what was the inspiration for that project? I know you worked with Kenneth J. Hall. So how long did that project take to work together?
Hold on, I'm plugging you so I don't lose you. Okay. The inspiration was Ken Hall, who ended up writing the horror workout and also directing it, came to the set of a movie I was doing called Murder Weapon for David Dakota. And so there was a scene where I was taking this, it was like a, oh God, what are those things called? Like not a shovel, but okay, maybe you guys can help me. It's like got not a hatchet,
axe?
Oh my God, not an axe, a mallet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I was like going at the guy's head, up and down. And so they had to keep filming it just so they saw it going up and down in the right way and different angles. And so I went back to the room while they shot another scene, and Ken came up to me and said, "Oh my God, it's really a workout to do horror films." And I said, "Yeah, it really is. You've got this and that, and sometimes you have to." I've done Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, and I was saying, you have to chainsaw people, and he goes, "Wait a minute." He goes, "I think there's a movie type thing in this." And so within a week, he got financing and wrote it, and we did it in 2 days.
That's awesome.
Wow. And we had all these horrible things when we were filming happen to us. We had one of the girls get lost, so we had to put in Cynthia Garris, who's Mick Garris' wife, who was just doing the choreography. And she luckily agreed. And then the other thing was I didn't, a huge graveyard up by my parents up in the hills. But what we didn't know, we just filmed for maybe less than an hour, 45 minutes or something, and all of a sudden this one zombie was walking down to the porta potties, and a fire truck came up, and they kind of wondered what he was doing there, and he's like, "Oh, I'm doing a film." I mean, I'm sure it scared him, but they came up there, and then at the same time, they were telling us that we couldn't film there, and it was like once a month they had a thing there, so it had to be that time. So Entertainment Tonight and E.T. came up to interview us and do a special on us, and I'm trying to keep the guys saying you have to, leave, going, well, technically doesn't it end here? And well, if we did and while I was like stalling the guy, they were, taking shots, getting shots done. And so we finally got done, and then we had to film the rest of it at my parents' house. But it worked. Nobody can tell, so, we wanted it the other way, but it ended up a different way.
Yeah, they just did they just released it on DVD a couple years ago, too.
Yeah.
So fun.
That's right.
Yeah, so.
This one guy that does it, his birthday every year, and they make a cake, and then they put like an image of me from the movies on their cake, and then they all come dressed as me and do the workout.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
I know. I told them, please send me some video, because I would love to see this. I've seen pictures, but not video.
I know what I'm doing for my 31st birthday.
Right.
That's a good thing to do. Yeah. Send me video.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to ask for that DVD for Christmas.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, my God. But, yeah, the exercise video is a weird, quick way that something came up.
Yeah. Serendipitous. It's awesome.
Yes, a very good word. I can't even think of mallet.
It's okay, I couldn't either.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think I'm alone in this, but my most important thing that I really wanted to talk to you about was, of course, Night of the Demons, which I was only really actually introduced to several years ago by a friend of mine. But wow, I mean, what a movie, and it had the 2009 remake. So can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what pulled you into the remake and how that went down?
Well, it was funny because my manager had called me about this movie, and he said it's about these teenagers that are stuck in this haunted house, and they want you to come in. And I said, no, I'm not coming in. I said, I'm not a teenager. I'm 25 years old. They are going to reject me because, I've gone on auditions, too old. They want somebody really young, to be a teenager. And so he kept calling me, no, they really want to see you. I'd be, no, I'm not going to go in because they're not going to pick me. And it went on and on and on. And then finally he said, no, really, they really want to see you. And so I went in, and I didn't have to read, which was so nice because I hate reading for parts. And they said, oh, you got it. And I was like, oh, my God, this is like, I'm so glad I came in, you know? And that was interesting because that's a film that it's really hard for me to tell. It was like, I don't know, it was one of those things that I just fell into this character. I don't know why. I think because of the dialogue that I kind of was kind of ditzy and narcissistic and just weird. But it was one time when, you know, the writing made me be a certain way. It was very strange.
It was, and it was very enjoyable. That's become, honestly, one of my favorite horror films, like, overall.
Good.
I really, really enjoyed it, and I can't believe I slept on it for so long.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Kevin Tenney is the nicest guy, the guy who directed it, and we still see each other a lot, you know, at conventions, and they're releasing another movie I did with them called Witch House, or Witch. It's not Witch Trap. It's Witch Trap because this other one is Witch Board. That one's not as good as Night of the Demons by a long shot. But I do get killed by a possessed showerhead, so.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, are there any
But it was fun.
any other, you know, projects you're working on or we should look for in the future, or anything you do a little bit of producing? I saw online as well.
Yeah, I just did one that's going to be out pretty soon. I'm going to the premiere in LA called Bone Hill Road by Todd Sheets, and it's amazing. I saw it in Kansas. They flew me out to Kansas to see it. It is really good. It is really good. Then the one before that, I had a tiny part in with The Barn, and that's a good film. And what was it? There's something coming up. What is it? Oh, I'm directing and producing a documentary called Extras, which is all about extras. Like the ones that just want to do extra work, the ones that take it serious, the ones that did extra work and now are famous. Just their stories are so interesting.
That's awesome.
And some of them are kind of sad, you know, because almost all of them that I asked, I said, well, do you think you're going to make it, have said, yes, I am going to make it. I mean, they're in a really believable, yes, I'm going to make it. Not like, oh, I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of sad. But, I mean, there's so many talented people, but there's so many circumstances that might not lend them to a part, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm doing that, and then just conventions, and I think I'll go back. I did something in Paris, and I can't remember the name of it. I did 2 little things, and we still have to finish it, so I have to go back to Paris and finish it.
Oh, that's nice. Like, oh, I have to go back to Paris.
I know. I love Paris. I love it.
Yeah.
I think of the countries that I've visited so far, I really like Paris. I have some good friends there, too.
Nice.
Like, do you guys know who, I know you're young, but do you know who Richard Stanley is?
I've heard the name a lot.
He directed Dust Devils and Hardware, which are, and he was the director of The Island of Dr. Moreau, the newer one.
Yes.
And then he punched Val Kilmer in the face and he got fired.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Which I'm sure he deserved, but it's like, I'm going to visit him again over there. He lives in the mountains, and it's really pretty.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, they did that the documentary about him. He's an interesting fella.
I've got to see that documentary. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's basically just about the production of that movie and how they finished the movie after he was taken off the film, but they interview him in like present day, and I mean, he's just a really interesting guy.
Oh yeah, he's a bit like not off, but you know, he's very mystical and I like him. I've known him since this is really bad, but him and I'd never ever taken acid before in my life. And on Halloween, we were in Malibu, and he said, "Here, try this." And I'm like, "Okay." I wanted to be cool and stuff. And I like freaked out, and I got out of there really, really fast. I had all my dogs with me, and I have no idea how I got home. I have no idea. I think I was at the border at some point. I don't know.
Oh. It sounds like a great premise.
The first and last time, I tell you, that I ever did acid.
Yeah, that sounds terrifying.
It was horrible. I was like, I gotta go. And it was like there was this cliff, and I remember that I didn't want to pull my car too far forward. I was going to go down the cliff. Oh, and then I remembered the border, and then I had to go through these swervy mountains, and it wasn't fun.
Hey, and it was on Halloween, so I guess it could have been a lot worse.
Exactly, it was on Halloween too. It was like so weird. With you know, Richard Stanley of all people.
Right. That sounds like a great movie.
It does. Maybe they'll make one. We'll have Richard do it.
Yeah.
We'll make a movie of that night. Oh my God.
We're cranking out all kinds of ideas tonight.
I know. Yeah.
Great.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
So this question's always kind of fun to ask. If you could reprise one role that you've played, what would it be, and like, you know, what would the setting be? Would it just be a sequel or like its own thing? Like, do you have like a favorite role or anything?
Oh boy, I had a fun time. I love Return of the Living Dead, but that's done. And I think it would be fun to do a Sorority Babes and the Slime Ball Bolorama type of thing. Mm-hmm. You know, reprise that, because I had so much fun in that.
I think I saw that on USA's Up All Night.
Yes, probably. Yeah. I had a really good time doing that.
That one, and they did. You were in Vice Academy too, right? That and Vice Academy too. I remember those movies on the Up All Night too.
Oh yeah, those were fun. Those are really fun.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that you've kind of, you know, you haven't done strictly, you know, because you're obviously, even on like your Wikipedia page, it says you're a scream queen. So you've done a lot of horror, but you have branched out and done some other, you know, other genres as well. That's
true. Yeah, there was Savage Streets where it was more. I wouldn't call it horror. I'd call it more drama, maybe suspense. I don't know. And then with the comedy ones.
Yeah.
You know, so I was lucky, and I got to meet like cool people, and like one of the cool people was James Best, who was Roscoe on, and he was in the Killer Shrews on what was that? Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard.
He was Sheriff Roscoe or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was a cool man because he had done these really big time movies in I would say the 60s. Mm-hmm. Under contract, so it was interesting to talk to him.
Yeah, he was in that is it Hopper? Is either Hopper or Hooper with Burt Reynolds, the Stuntman movie?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was in that. That was like, I think, like the last big movie he did before he started doing the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. Yeah. I had the biggest crush on Burt Reynolds too.
Yeah, I think everyone did.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
even now, I look at him on that like bearskin rug, and I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I have that on my wall. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, do you watch horror in your downtime? Like, are you a horror fan yourself?
Yeah, I like horror and action, and then I would say comedy. In that order, I would say.
Oh, nice.
Like if I were to go to anything, I'd go to horror first, then action, and then comedies.
Awesome.
So what have you been watching lately?
Let's see. Well, even though my Fire Stick is being really horrible to me, I watched, what was it? This film that I love, and it's not very good, but it just came out not too long ago, Atomic Blonde. I call it the girl
Oh, I haven't
movie.
seen that yet.
What? Oh, yeah, I like it because it's a total girl power movie. And
Yeah.
I was feeling I needed some girl power, and I went to the theater alone, which I'd never done before. And I walked in, and, like, nobody was there. And I waited. Nobody was there, so I just walked in. I didn't even have to pay. So it was a great time.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
So,
Let's talk
you know,
about
it's been fun.
your experience with conventions. You know, I'm sure you enjoy doing those, but do you have any fun fan stories, or if you've met anyone that you got, you know, super giddy about meeting, or any kind of fun story about your convention experiences?
Oh gosh, there's all kinds of them. I haven't had many bad ones. I've had people bring me cakes, and you know, cakes made with me in them, and a lot of lipstick, and just really kind of cool stuff, and it's nice of them. But one guy got the idea that I would go to Niagara Falls with him, and I just thought he kept asking me on like Facebook or something about, you know, he's got to plan his vacation and when would I want to go, and I'm like, oh my God.
Thank you.
Like, I met the guy, you know, like for 2 hours or something. It's like, I'm not going to go. He'll probably push me down the falls or something.
Right. That's crazy.
But people think that you're just going to go do something like that. It's like, no.
Right. Yeah, that'd be kind of weird.
That'd be scary.
Yeah.
Well,
And then, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna do another question, so I'll let you finish.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, and then there's the fans that have a whole bunch of stuff they're carrying, and they put them down, their stuff down right on top of your good pictures. And it's like, what are you going to do? Say, get your stuff off my pictures, you're bending them. You know, it's like, there's all different types, and ones that talk, and they don't realize there's a line behind them.
Oh, yeah.
And they just keep talking and talking and talking, and, you know, it's hard to say, well, listen, I'll see you later, and then they keep talking.
Right.
Do you have a limit for that? Do you draw the line like I'll sign 2 things or 1, or like if someone drops a box down with like 1,000 things, like are you like where do you draw the line?
Oh, the more I sign, the more I make. So
Well, there you go.
True,
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do 1,000 things.
Yeah, there you go.
Bring on the box full of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, bring the boxes on. Come on.
So what do you think your secret is to staying relevant in the business and continuing to, you know, get roles, and, you know, you're going to Paris for work and you've got a bunch of stuff coming up next year. Like what have you done to kind of, you know, what do you think your secret is to staying relevant?
Oh boy. I think a lot of the things that I did in the past, for some reason, are like skipping a generation and getting on to the people that are making movies now.
Mm.
I mean, that might be a great answer, but it's the only answer I can think of.
Gotcha.
Because even the music and stuff is, I mean, people are going back to records, and people are going back to VHS, and people are going, they're going back to a time when it wasn't so complicated, and you actually could make good money, and you wouldn't have to spend so much to live, which isn't like now.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's terrible, people trying to live. Everything is overly priced, and their wages haven't gone up.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense too, like we've talked about, how a lot of your movies, kind of continue to grow in stature. And now with social media, there's, fan pages on Facebook and YouTube videos, and, so for a lot of these people that might have missed it when it first came out, I mean, it's all accessible now, and I think that's adding to the fandom.
Yeah, probably. I never know the answer to those questions, but I can just guess, maybe. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
But are you guys going to make a movie now?
I feel like we should.
And then we have so many ideas now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
We needed to talk to you to open the creative hatch, so.
I know you're going to use the acid one.
Well, that's too good to pass up. So.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that is. I've got to see that documentary on him now. That sounds interesting.
I want to say it was on Hulu, and I don't even remember the name of it, but if you just Google, Dr. Moreau documentary, it's
okay. I've got Hulu, so I could try that.
Yeah.
Actually, my Roku is working, but the Fire Stick isn't.
So speaking of social media, where can we find you if you want to give everybody your handles on Twitter and Instagram so people can look you up?
Yeah, that's important. They can go to the Linnea Quigley personal official Facebook, and there it'll take you to my store, it will take you to my Instagram, it'll take you to my official Facebook page. So if you go there, it'll keep you current in where I'm going to be or what podcast or whatever. It's on there.
Awesome.
So there's somewhere people can go.
Cool. Well, I think one, I don't know, kind of like a last question, maybe to wrap everything up. Do you have any advice for anybody, getting in the business, whether they're an actor or a writer or producer? Do you have any, with the career you've amassed, do you have any wisdom that you'd pass on to anybody?
I would say just be yourself, meet people, and, don't ever take it for granted.
Well.
Because, Greg Nicotero, who I know, who was doing, good and Oscar-winning effects work, is now a huge director and part of The Walking Dead. So you never know where your life is going to go.
Right. Well, I think it's like somebody said earlier too, being able to adapt. Like with you. I think if you had to go out on your own, you've got so much experience from films, from doing, just the extra stuff into, leading lady stuff, and you produce the music. You would be able to. You have a lot of tools, so you'd be able to kind of do a lot of different things.
Yeah, having the tools is really important, and I think I took acting classes, and I think it does help a lot. Just for confidence, even.
Yeah.
because so many actors now don't even go to school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of the young ones that work on the kind of teen summer movies and stuff like that, which I've worked on with them, and it's like, man, the drama anymore with girls and guys are crazy now in movies. Nuts.
Well, I think we've kind of covered our bases as far as this goes. We want to thank you for taking some time out to talk to us. The different time zones gets tricky sometimes, but
that's true. That's true. Well, I hope I see you guys soon. I'll have a chance to get to Nashville, and I'll see you guys. That would be fun.
Please, we
awesome.
would love that.
Yes.
And when we put the episode up, I don't know, we might do it this Friday. We usually do it like every other Friday, so the schedule's supposed to be next Friday. But when we do, we'll like tag you on Facebook and Twitter, so you'll have can check out the episode and stuff. So.
Oh, thank you so much, and then other people can too, which would be great.
Yes.
Well, all right.
That'd be great.
Well, thank you.
Okay,
again.
Okay, we'll have to work together.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
No acid though.
No, never again. That's not me. God.
Well, hey,
none of that.
You were fantastic. We love talking to you, so thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you, you guys, and have a good night.
All right.
Here, I can't believe it's already here. Jeez.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so we are back. That was incredible. Hopefully you guys got a sense of how fun she was.
How fantastic and like beautiful and wonderful she was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she is amazing.
Yeah. I had so many friends like since we've done this, like, oh my God, she was such a babe back in the day, or even like, oh my God, she's still so hot. Like, well, yeah.
I was about to say she still looks great.
Oh,
and
she
I
really
need
does.
to know
Like,
her
amazing.
secret. I meant to ask her, but I mean, she's beautiful, and she's a beautiful person, and that was so awesome to find out.
Yeah.
Inside and out.
Oh, and I think we didn't even talk about, she's like a vegetarian, and that's a big part of her life, and I think she's really involved with PETA, and
Right.
So I'm sure being meat free definitely helps you age very well. So
Right.
Right.
Yeah, she mentioned all her pets at one point. I didn't get to ask her about it, but she's got lots of pets at home.
Oh man,
Apparently.
that
Which I
should
think
have
is
been
awesome.
a conversation.
I know.
If only I had known.
that's how a lot of this stuff goes. Like we get off of it, and they're like, "Oh man, why didn't I talk to him about this?" So.
Tell me about your dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just wonderful to talk to. I feel very privileged that we got to
Agree.
hang out with her for a while.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, our first two interviews were, I don't know what we did to, get that lucky to have those two start off our interviewing career.
Mm-hmm.
But we
Whoever is next has a lot to live up to.
Yeah. Sure thing.
But yeah, so I think we're gonna maybe throw out her socials where they can find, because she's got some stuff coming up in 2018, and so yeah, I think we're gonna mention her.
And
socials.
she loves her fans, so please, everyone, talk to her. She's so much fun. Again, we were so privileged to have her, and we hope we get to either have her on the podcast again, or maybe she'll come down to Nashville and do a con. That's definitely something maybe we could try and cook up.
Yeah.
And then we will get to see.
Tell her you
her.
heard the interview on our show.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. So on social media, you can find her at her first and last name. I'm going to spell it for you just in case. It's Linnea Quigley, LINNEA QUIGLEY, and that is on Instagram and Twitter. On Facebook, she is at official Linnea Quigley. So you can contact her, chat her up, ask her questions, tell her how great she is. Please send her all the love in the world because she sent it to us and we are very appreciative.
Yes, and she's got stuff on her website for sale. So
yeah, I saw, and it's all pretty. I mean, it's pretty economical. So I mean, if you're looking for something, last minute Christmas
support
gift,
her.
Yeah, she's got some autograph stuff for sale, and that goes a long way because that's directly supporting the artist, and
yes,
it's pretty cool to give somebody something signed by like an actual screen queen, someone that's actually kind of a legend in the business. So
I, for one, hopefully can talk her into signing a copy of Night of the Demons for me.
Yeah.
Yes. And Mom and Dad, if you're listening, I want the horror workout video, please.
Yeah, I've got to find that.
Yeah.
So,
I think that brings us to our social media, correct?
Yeah.
Taylor, take it away.
Sure. You can find us at musiccityhorror.com. We are also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Music City Horror as well. And we're always looking forward to interact with you guys. You guys are awesome. And thanks for all your support and follows.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
And I've had people, kind of pick our brain and ask ways that they can, either help us or whatever. A big thing that would help us at this stage is if you listen to us on iTunes, leave us a review. I can't remember if they do rankings on iTunes or not, but the reviews help us kind of go up the chart, and the higher up we are on the charts, the more opportunities we'll get for bigger interviews and whatever. And then also just reposting, so I mean, if we post an interview or on Facebook, just repost it to your friends, or if we put something on Twitter or Instagram, like it, and just, anything like that, you'd be surprised. Because like when we do, when I post something on the Facebook about a new episode's out, like we can see the reach, so we can see how many people it goes to and how many people look at it, and the whole nine. So you'd be surprised at just if we all had 5 people that just reposted it, that's 20 people. Well, then they all have their their friends and their circles and that kind of stuff. So, so it really doesn't take much to kind of support, the show. You don't have to give us money, or well, you can give us money, but don't have to. Right now, just spreading the word for us is going to be worth gold at where we're at.
Totally.
At our stage in time. So, but
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that's our 2 cents. So that's it for this week. The wonderful interview took up the bulk of the time. So I think we might try to squeeze in one final show before the end of the year. So stay tuned for that, and then hopefully come January we can have some cool stuff. To talk about. We're contemplating bringing on some guest hosts. We've had some people that have just various stages, with the show, and we've talked about bringing in some people to, if we have a topic like, best reboots or best whatever, then they'll be able to chime in or whatever. So we've thrown out the idea of bringing in some guest hosts, and also, I think we forgot to mention this the last couple episodes, but we're still on Indie Popcorn. So if you go to indiepopcorn.fm, you can find our episodes there, and they repost all of our stuff on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. So we're still part of that network too. So, But anyways, we will keep everyone posted on the next episode. And if you guys don't have anything else, I guess we're done.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.
You guys are the best.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
We will see everyone later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.